wanted to give Daniel Amaduri over at futuremoneytrends.com and visionvictory.com a shout out for helping to put this interview together. Without his assistance, this would not be possible. So thank you very much, Daniel. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Tuesday, August the 11th, 2015, and I have the very distinct honor of welcoming Mr. Patrick Donnelly, who is the president of First Mining Finance, to the show. And Mr. Donnelly, how are you today?
Doing great. How you doing, Rory?
I'm doing quite well, and I'm really glad to have you on the show. With everything that's going on in the market, it just seems like everywhere you turn, there is something that's either breaking or broken or not functioning properly. We have mining production that's falling off a cliff. We have demand that's exploded. And so with you being in the First Mining Finance, this should be some great information for our audience. And I just wanted to jump right in with, and we just learned just within the last week from Steve St. Angelo over at SRS Rocco Report that 3 of the largest silver producing countries are in a bit of a production slump. Mexico, Peru, and Australia are all trending down year over year. It appears these 3 countries' total production for first quarter 2014 versus first quarter 2015 is down approximately 34%, which is just almost hard to believe. And we also learned from Money Metals Exchange, one of the largest bullion dealers in the U.S., that their total sales have surged. And how do you see the mining industry being able to keep up with demand as supplies are seemingly running dry?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Rory. I don't see mining keeping up. You mentioned, I know for, Australia, the reason their silver production's coming off because they're closing the Sentry mine, which is the world's largest lead zinc mine, and it also cranks out a lot of silver. And we're seeing this globally where we're seeing all the easy deposits, all the easy mineral deposits were found a long time ago, and all the high grade deposits have already been, for the most part, been mined out. Overall, we're seeing in gold and in copper and in other metals that grades are declining, mines are getting deeper, and mines are getting way more expensive to build. You need infrastructure, you need water, you need power, so it's getting increasingly more difficult to build mines. The grades are going down, and then you transpose on top of that the fact that we're going through a lot of volatility globally. It takes an average mine from discovery to production. It takes over 10 years, and within a 10-year period, a lot of things can happen. Metal prices move up and down, interest rates move up and down, and cost of capital moves up and down. So it's very, very difficult to build a mine in that environment. And when supply is down and demand is up, mining's not like you're producing widgets in the factory where you just crank up the rate of widget production. You just can't turn a key and just start automatically producing more metal. It takes many years for that to catch up. So right now we're seeing a lot of volatility in metal prices. They've come off the last couple of years. Gold is come up. Was at $1,800. Not too long ago. Copper was over around $4 not too long ago, and they're quite a bit off. And that precludes any more mines coming into production. But what that does do, at least in the short term, precludes any new mines being built. But in the long term, in the medium term, what happens is, inevitably supply comes down, and even if demand is flat or even negative, you got so much production coming off and grades coming down that eventually you're going to get a crunch. You're going to get a supply side crunch, and that's what gets metals prices up again. I think what the market doesn't realize is, everybody gets hung up on day-to-day leading indicators and results from China and the U.S. and Europe. And so these these day-to-day fluctuations have an impact on metal prices, but for long-term sustainable metal prices, it's really supply that makes the big difference, and the lack of supply.
And the lack of supply, which is what I see, and I'm sure you're seeing it as well. And I want to give you a proper introduction here, Pat. And
Sure.
it's Patrick Donnelly. He's the president of First Mining Finance, which is part of First Majestic Silver Mining Company. And a lot of our audience is familiar with Keith Neumeyer, who is the outspoken and very passionate president of, or chairman of, First Majestic. And we love Mr. Neumeyer's passion and fire. And he actually wrote the open letter to the other mining companies asking them to hold some production until the price discovery on the COMEX better. And it must be something to work with someone of his stature.
Well, Keith's a legend. I mean, in the mining space, there's only been a handful of people that have had incredible success. And what I've learned, I'm a former analyst. I was a sell-side analyst, and one thing I've learned is that successful companies are usually run by successful management teams, and there's not many of them. And Keith has got an unparalleled track record of building companies and making a lot of money for shareholders. He was the founder of First Quantum Minerals. And what's interesting about Keith is he thinks outside the box. When he put First Quantum together, it was at a time when there was not much interest in mining, and metal prices were really weak. And in Vancouver and in Canada, the junior sector was focused on exploration, and Keith decided, I want to start a producing company from scratch. And people told him that was crazy. Well, he went ahead and did it anyway, and built and put in the current management team at First Quantum now, he put together, and they're still there. And now it's the 10th largest copper producer in the world, and the market cap, I forget what it is now. I think it's at $7 or $8 billion, and he put that company together. So, he's a visionary, and he was also able to pick the bottom of the markets when he put together First Quantum. Subsequently, after First Quantum, he started First Majestic. I believe it was in 2003, and silver was at around $5. And again, he picked the bottom of the market. He went down to Mexico, and he put together a company that now has 6 operating mines, and was able to predict the bottom of the silver market. So, he's a guy that's a visionary. He understands the markets, and he understands the business, and he's not afraid to try to go against the flow or try to think outside the box, and that's why he's been successful.
And those are all fine characteristics. And I would imagine that you bring a lot of that to the table as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, my background, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I'm a geologist, and as I alluded to earlier, I'm also a former analyst, and what I really like is the entrepreneurial spirit, and a lot of miners, everybody's talking about right now, cutting back and laying low and not doing anything. Whereas here at First Mining, we're incredibly busy because there's, crises represent opportunities. Take advantage when you have a crisis. Take advantage of it. And I think we're seeing a crisis right now in the mining space, and therefore we see opportunities to take advantage of this crisis.
And I wish you nothing but success. And I love what little bit I know of the business model. I think it's absolutely genius. Our world is dependent upon silver. It is the second most used commodity on this planet, and mining operations are essential to delivering this product to market. Are there any large deposits left? And I know you alluded to this a moment ago, but are there any large deposits left to be found, or have we reached peak silver? And how do you see the mining industry unfolding over the next few years?
Well, not just silver. I think in all the metals, like I said before, all the easy stuff's been found. All the stuff that's at surface or is high grade has all been found. There's been very few discoveries in the last few years. I mean, just speaking about Canada, Canada is one of the largest, mining countries in the world, and we haven't had a major discovery in over 20 years. And in other countries, I can't think of any world-class discoveries in the last few years. I mean, quite honestly, I think one thing that would kickstart the industry again is if we had a major discovery. So, I don't, are there any other large silver mines there? Perhaps, but the ones that are out there, there's a reason why they're not in production. Either there's infrastructure challenges, there's political challenges, there's grade. Often there's grade challenges as well. But are we going to find big high grade deposits anymore? Not just silver, gold, copper, lead, zinc, nickel. I just don't think so. I think the world has been pretty much plucked over, and unless we're using advanced technology, advanced remote sensing techniques, maybe we might find something. But quite honestly, I think all the easy stuff's been found. And for example, in the gold space, the average head grade 10 years ago was about 3 grams. Now it's 1.5 grams. In copper, the average grade, was well over 1% copper. Now it's like 0.75% copper. So, grades have come down, and we're not finding any more high grade material. All we're doing is trying to, there's mine expansions going on, but they're expanding just to maintain their current production rate, because all they have is lower grade material.
Well, that bodes well for the investor, I would presume, but it doesn't sound too good for the industry that is highly dependent upon silver, like technology, a lot of the new technologies and medicine. I mean, I don't see how they're going to be able to maintain anything if we aren't able to start finding, more and larger discoveries. I mean, and according to what you just said, probably not in the cards.
No, absolutely not. And eventually what happens is there comes a tipping point where, right now the market's sour on mining, but eventually, because, it's a double whammy. One, silver prices now are there's no incentive to build mines right now because of where the spot price of silver is, and other metals, I might add. And two, as I mentioned before, mines are more difficult to find. And three, grades are coming down. So all these three things will eventually come together, and you're going to see a tipping point where the metals will rise up, and it's not if but when. And it's happened before, and I think the next increase in metal prices, I think it's going to be even more pronounced than what we've seen in the past, because the shortage is going to be that much more acute.
And we're not going to be able to recover. I mean, because mining operations are either slowing or shutting down completely. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And grades are coming down, and
that's really the killers, that the grades are coming down,
and they're coming down materially. And so, as I meant, it's going to have a huge impact. And there's very few substitutes for silver, and there's very few substitutes for copper, and as well with gold. And you get global population keeps increasing. People want, you look at countries like China and India and other countries, people want to have a upper middle class lifestyle. People want automobiles. People want houses. The average house is 200 pounds of copper. Average car is 50 pounds of copper. And then as you mentioned before, Rory, silver has many industrial applications, solar panels and biomedical uses and all many other industrial uses, and as Keith would say, there's no substitute for silver. So, one thing I always say is, the best thing for silver prices is low silver prices, because, like I said before, there's a disincentive to build any more mines. There's disincentive to do any expansions. So as this crunch continues, eventually, the lack of supply is going to catch up to us, and we're going to see a spike.
Well, I know all the stackers that are out there are certainly looking for it.
Absolutely.
The investors have been beat up for the past 4 years, and I'm pretty well sick of it.
You're sick of it. I mean, I'm sick of it too. I mean, it's been hard, but I've been through this before, Rory. I mean, I went through this in the late 1990s. It is right now, I feel like I'm in deja vu, where gold is under a lot of pressure, and nobody can. I mean, mining right now is completely out of fashion right now, and I definitely think we're close to the bottom or at bottom. And the '90s were horrible, but because what we went, gold went down to 230, and I don't know, silver was just a few bucks, and copper was at a buck. And but what that resulted in is, after a couple of years of that, you got a major run up of metal prices because these really bearish markets and underperforming commodity prices always result in a huge rebound. So so I mean, I've seen this before, and that's the nature of this business. I'll be honest with you, minings and metals is very cyclical, and I would say it's hyper cyclical. And you get really bad lows, but you get tremendous highs. And I think we're in those really bad lows, and that's the opportunity right now. That's where for me, people are complaining it's so bad right now, but the way we look at it is this is where you lay the ground. This is where you plant the seeds. This is where you get yourself set for this next rebound. And so now that's what we're doing at First Mining Finance. We're going out. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of distressed junior mining companies out there with good assets that, they're out of cash. Their market caps are below $10 million. And we're going to go out and take them out and for less than $10 an ounce in the ground and get ourselves ready. And that's how Keith created First Quantum. And that's how Keith created First Majestic. And we're going to do that again.
Well, that's why I made that comment at the beginning of the show that I think that what First Mining Finance is doing is brilliant. I mean, I love the business model. I think that it's like, once again, what little bit I know of it, it is incredible what you guys are doing, because it benefits everybody. It benefits you guys there, and it benefits the mining operation as well. Everybody wins. I mean,
everybody wins. Shareholders win. I mean, shareholders of these companies, where these companies are out of cash, they're trading at 1 or 2 pennies. Management's not really doing anything. Management doesn't know what to do, and I get these shareholders call me up. Listen, I believe in the asset. I believe in the long-term fundamentals of metals, and I like Keith and what he's done, and I'd rather own your shares than this junior. And so there's a lot of shareholders out there who are really upset. They want to throw in the towel, and they want an opportunity. And so that's where we come in. Like I said, we're buying assets for very little, and we're going to hold on to them. And when things turn around, we'll monetize them and hold on to residual interest. So, and and Keith has done this, before, where he's gone out and bought these assets for very little and turned them into major producers and made a lot of money for shareholders.
Sounds like a winning plan to me. And I want to change gears just a little bit here.
Sure.
And China has stated that they are going to bring online approximately 100 gigawatts of solar power by 2020. And India has stated also that they're going to be doing something similar at the same time. And how do you see China and India's solar aspirations affecting the market between now and 2020?
Oh, it's going to be massive. I mean, China, most of their power is coming from heavy polluting coal, and it's terrible, the air pollution over there. And and now the government's finally dictated that they're not going to allow this anymore. The long-term health effects on the population of China are absolutely horrible. Same with India. And so these countries, they want clean sources of power. Nuclear, as we've seen in Japan, nuclear is also clean, but it has very dangerous ramifications when it goes wrong. And so China's putting a lot of money on solar and on wind, and they're desperate to get to clean up the air emissions. And same with India. India is a perfect country to use solar because of the climate. And also mention not just India and China, Africa is moving quite aggressively forward to use solar because most of Africa is in hot climates that would be totally conducive for solar power. So, yeah, absolutely. I think we've gone through a lot of growing pains of solar. But that being said, that's normal. With the cost of producing solar panels has come down, and the technology's gotten better, and that bodes very well for silver and copper, obviously.
Yes, I mean, and how that and this poses the question that I ask continuously. We've got mining production in a slump. We have huge demand that you just described that we're all aware of. I mean, to produce 100 gigawatts of power, and China started this in, I believe, 2013 or 2014, and they're going to be producing. They're going to need approximately 230 tons of silver a year.
Yeah.
So where's all this going to come from? I mean, as these as the mines are being shut down, as investors are stepping up to the plate, and we've got just these massive projects going on.
That's a good question. I wish I had an answer. I mean, there's, I think what we need is you're going to see a response in the metal price, and maybe some of this supply that we need will come out of some of these projects that maybe need $20 plus silver to make them work. So I think what we need to meet this shortfall of supply and demand is a silver price that's going to allow more silver to come out of the ground, because like I said, there's the amount of high grade out there is decreasing, and the grades are decreasing. So something does have to give, and I think the only way to incentivize mining companies to put more money into the ground is a better metal price.
Well, and that leads us to the last question that I have for you, Pat, and that is, the regulators, formerly known as the CFTC, are completely asleep at the wheel. These so-called regulators have turned a blind eye time and again to blatant manipulation of the gold and silver markets. What is it going to take to end what is happening at the COMEX?
Good question. I mean, and it's funny, a few years ago, if you talked about this manipulation, I think people would have thought you're nuts. But as we've seen in, for example, the LIBOR scandal,
yep.
LIBOR rate was being manipulated. We saw it with the forex. Foreign exchange rate was also being manipulated. I think what's going to happen, Rory, is, like I said, the fundamentals will take over. I mean, if you simply don't have enough silver or copper or gold, it will, that will take over. You only can manipulate for so long, and fundamentals will take hold, and that may change things. As they continue to manipulate metal prices, gold and silver, and perhaps even other metals. I mean, copper wouldn't surprise me. That's being manipulated as well. It hurts the producers, and they're not inclined to put out any more metal, and therefore the supply decreases, and somehow the supply and demand have to come into play, and that would catch these speculators off guard, and hopefully put them out of business, and then everything comes to the surface. So it's not sustainable, just like we saw with LIBOR, just like we saw with Forex. And it's great that Keith finally came out and said, this is nonsense. There's something wrong going on here, and we need to do something about it. And hopefully that's the first, hopefully that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, where the regulators finally decide to look at it and say, hey, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at the supply demand fundamentals and realize that we're as price is concerned, this doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, it's impossible to be logical about any of this. But this has been great, Pat, and I certainly appreciate all your time and the wisdom and knowledge that you've shared with us. And if you would, just tell people how to get in touch with you, and how to get in touch with First Mining Finance.
Well, we're on. We have a website, so you can go there at www.firstminingfinance.com, and we're listed on in Canada on the TSX Venture, and we're also under the symbol FF on the TSX Venture, and we're listed on the OTCQB under the symbol FFMGF. And you could reach me by email, patrick@firstminingfinance.com, if you want to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. So there you have it.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and once again, I really appreciate you taking time to share with us today, and I hope that we can do this again in the not too distant future.
Absolutely, Rory, and thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful afternoon, and I will talk with you soon.
Absolutely. You too.